Hi, Katia. I'm so excited to be talking to you today. You are my very first guest on this new interview series, and couldn't be a better guest. Katia, you are many things. You are the founder of Chateau Coliving, which is maybe the best or most successful co-living space in Europe. That might be my biased opinion. You are a serial entrepreneur. You have been location independent for over 15 years. You're kind of one of the OG digital nomads. You are also a good friend. You're one of our lab members. You're a cat mother too, to Roxy. And today we're going to be talking about some of those things and also about your new venture, which is Co-Living for a Living, where you are helping other co-living founders launch and grow their own co-living spaces around the world. Is that right?
Yeah, it's super nice to be one of your first guests. I feel honored. And yeah, looking forward to this. Thank you for the introduction.
Good, excellent. So we have lots of different things to talk about today, but I want to start with a question that I thought would be a fun one to start with. And that's something that we often talk about in the lab, which is what we call a confetti moment. So those are the things that are worth a celebration, anything that we're proud of. This could be professional or personal. This could be like a traditional or more of a classic goal, or maybe you said no to something or you took a nap, anything like that. So are there any confetti moments that you would like to share with us today?
Actually, the confetti moments is something that I really learned to pay attention to in the lab, because you always like push people so much to celebrate each other. And very often when you are, especially when you work alone or in a small team and when you have so many things going on, it's so hard to just stop for a minute and step back and be like, well, we did this week or this month or today, or even if it's something small. And I need to be honest, I was really for a long time struggling with that, celebrating small wins and just acknowledging small things along the way, which are super important actually. So thank you for that. Something that I can share, it's something new. You mentioned already that I'm starting with my colleague and partner for a long time. We've been running the chateau together in the last years, and we have decided that it's time now to use all of this knowledge that we have accumulated to help new co-living founders on their journey. So we have started Co-Living for a Living, which is, I don't want to say consultancy because that sounds a little bit too corporate and our business is much less formal. But yeah, we are the fairy godmothers, if you will, to co-living founders and co-living spaces. So this is something that we have launched just a couple of months ago, even though informally we've been doing it for quite a while. We have decided to now separate it into its own brand, to have its own life. So yeah, I would say this is the latest kind of big confetti moment.
That is so exciting, and I'm glad you're celebrating those now. Yeah, I've obviously heard a little bit about this already because over the years we've talked so much about co-living. What does it actually mean? Because I don't think there's like an official definition or like one that everybody agrees on at least. So what would you say actually makes a co-living space a co-living space?
Oh, that's a very hard question. I would say there is not one single thing. It's a combination of many different things at the same time. And I know a lot of people talk about community, and in my opinion, this word starts to be a little bit overhyped and overused, because also everyone has their own definition about community, and the magic is really to make things happen naturally, to make things look like they happen naturally. They never really happen naturally. There is always a lot of work behind, but I think for a good co-living space there are a few key ingredients, and one of them has a lot to do with the community and the kind of people that you attract and the kind of atmosphere that you create and nurture in the house for people to feel at home, to feel supported, to feel like they belong. And I think this is true not only for co-living spaces, it's for any community. You run an online community and it's the same. It's about, I'm sure you would agree, the sense of belonging, the sense of feeling supported, being with people that are at the same time very different from one another, because all of us, we have different backgrounds, different experiences, different businesses as well. But at the end of the day, we are not that different. We have a lot of things in common. So this is also what helps people to bond and to feel good with each other.
I love that. Yeah, we've been talking about this a lot. Like on paper, what we do is very different. But then when you kind of dig into it a little bit, it's like, oh, we bring people together. You do it in person. I do it mostly online.
It's so interesting also to see how people, at the end of the day, we all have very similar challenges and problems no matter what kind of work we do. And I think it's something that comes up often in the lab, co-working, or even at the hot seats. Like sometimes we are like, oh, actually we do completely different things, and I have encountered this exact same challenge like you.
Yeah, that is so interesting. I mean, you and I, we've collaborated now multiple times at the Chateau. I think the first time was over 3 years ago when we did the first retreat at Chateau Coliving for my, like, exclusively for the lab community. It was the first retreat that I did after COVID, and I was very nervous to start bringing people together again in person, and this felt like the safest space to do that. So it was just for the lab community, but since then we've done co-living camps as well. And one of the things I always find so interesting is, like you said, you have a group of very different people, different ages, different nationalities, different backgrounds, different businesses, total different business models. And yet when we ask people, because that's something we both do, I think that's, you mentioned about how to build community, I think is getting people involved in that process. And when we ask people, what are some topics you would like to cover? Should we do a sharing circle? Then the same things come up for everyone, and we're like, oh wow, like how is it possible that everybody wants to talk about visibility or inner critic? So I don't know what other topics. It's very, very similar.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's had a challenging client, a challenging supplier, project that gets stuck, creativity blocks, all of those things. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. To talk a little bit more about co-living for a living, you already shared a bit about kind of the mix of what needs to be present for a co-living space. So it's not just anyone who has an Airbnb with multiple rooms and then calls it a co-living, which we do see as well. If somebody has this long-standing big dream, I think we've all had this, like, oh my God, wouldn't it be so nice if we had our own co-living space and we could just all live together, or bring all your friends together. If somebody is seriously dreaming about opening a co-living space, what piece of advice would you give them?
Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Talk to people who've been there, and just try to be prepared. We are never prepared for any new venture, right? There is always something that can happen. There are always surprises. I think one thing that I was missing a lot 5 years and a half ago, almost 6 years ago now, when I started the chateau, is that there were not that many co-living spaces out there. So yeah, there were a couple. We kind of knew each other. We were helping each other. But now the market is completely different. And now for new founders, it's much, I wouldn't say easier, but yeah, you have easier access to information and to be prepared with what to expect, and mostly to be prepared with the fact that this is a business and an industry that is constantly changing, and it's not something that you set up once and then is done and then you just sit back and watch it work. No, it's a super dynamic industry, so you have to be prepared to reinvent yourself and to keep up with the new trends, with the new needs of the people who use this kind of spaces. So yeah, that would be one of my advices. And then don't over romanticize as well. Like every business is exciting, but nothing is easy at the end of the day. Nothing is just, oh, I'm just gonna live with my friends and it's gonna be great. No.
Yes, even if you are just living with your friends, there will be complications arising there as well.
It will be probably better than most jobs, right? I'm not saying that it won't be, but nothing is ever perfect and nothing is ever easy. Like any other business, if you want to build anything from scratch, you have to work on it.
Well, I mean, the romanticizing thing, I think I know what you're talking about. I've been to the chateau 5 times now, I think. And it is one of those places that you see the photos. And also, I realize I hadn't actually said where the chateau is, which is talking about this mysterious place. It's in Normandy in France. It's one of those places that you look at the website and you're like, wow, that is incredible. And then you arrive and it is so different than you ever thought it would be. Katia, I think you've experienced this many times. People arrive and go, "Oh my God, it really is a castle." And you're like, "Oh,
Even people that knew me personally, even people from the lab, we
me
know
too."
each other for so long, and they're like, "Oh, but it's really a castle." I'm like, yeah, you didn't see the pictures? Yeah, we did, but it's kind of like,
Yeah, there's something about the reality to it. But talking about, I love the word romanticize because I think that's what we see a lot of people do with lots of different business models. And they're just seeing the reality of running a space like that. I am not envious of any of the behind the scenes there at all. I want to come back to what you were saying about be prepared to reinvent and you can't just like stick with something, go, this is what it's going to be like, this is how co-living is, and then, like just never change anything about it. So it's a very dynamic industry, you said. And I love that because one of the things we often talk about and one of the pet peeves I have is this like, just follow my cookie cutter formula, just follow these 10 steps. And then if you do exactly like I do, then you will be successful and then you will be happy and then you will be rich and all of that. This happens in so many different areas, whether it's diet or exercise or business. And it just doesn't work that way, which is scary because we love the idea of just being told, if you just do it this way, then you will be successful and there's no risk involved. But in reality, we have to figure things out ourselves and we have to experiment. So I would love to ask you a bit about that, about experimentation and what is something you've experimented with maybe recently or over the past few years, whether with the chateau or in other areas.
yeah. Well, yeah, with the chateau, we have experimented a lot. And I would say we have taken quite some big risks as well. Always paid off. This is one thing that, yeah, always, like there have been moments that were challenging at times. Of course, every time when you try something new, especially when you are the first person in a very small niche market to try and implement something new, it's a massive risk. We have changed multiple times our concept of how we build community, in the sense of we were the first place to implement fixed dates of people arriving, and we were one of the few at the time. Now a lot of people are doing it, but we were one of the very few, first of all, to put a 1 month minimum stay, because we thought that this is essential to community. And then we realized that actually 1 month minimum stay is not enough. People want to be with the same people for the whole month, because a lot of the season travelers are tired of the constant turnover of people. So we fixed the dates of arrival and departure to 1 month. This was a massive risk that I have discussed beforehand with a lot of fellow founders, and everyone was like, Katia, you will shoot yourself in the foot, don't do that, it's too restrictive for people. And actually it worked out great in so many levels, and people appreciate that so much, knowing that they will arrive, they will not be the new person in a group that has already bonded, that they will all be allowed to, the first days, to ask all the questions, to not remember each other's names, to, all of those things, to adjust to the place together. And then that for the whole month, they will be together and they will have the time to get to know each other, instead of having people coming and going all the time. And it also allows so much to create the program for the whole month, and our little rituals and our little trips and all of that. So that was, I would say, one of the first experiments. And then when this worked out so well, we started trying other things out. One of my favorites is our thematic months in winter, which is something that started with, okay, how do we attract the people who can be anywhere in the world to come to Normandy in January, where it's cold, it's rainy, it's expensive. What can we give them more than what Bali can give them, or Tenerife, or those warm places that the nomads get to chase? And this is how we started our thematic months, which I really love. We did so far French immersion, we did digital minimalism, we did 3 times writers, which two of them were facilitated actually by one of the lab members,
Yeah.
Christine. This is how the lab works. Like, you connect with people, you need someone, you need to work with someone for something, and you always find great collaborations. Yeah, we did a few others, and now our latest experiment is that we are taking our thematic months also outside of the chateau. So 2 years ago we did something in Burgas co-living, where I am today, by the way, in Bulgaria, and now we are doing a Spanish immersion, which is based on the concept of our French immersion, but with Spanish, because so many people asked us, let's do Spanish, but we can't do Spanish in France, right? We have to do it in Spain. So we'll announce that very soon as well. So these are all the experiments, and I think almost all of them I discussed on the hot seats in the lab. Every time I have like some kind of crazy idea, I'm like, okay, Jenny, let's get the girls in the lab, let's sit and let's I need some reality check. Is this too crazy? Can we do it? So yeah, experiments a lot. Yeah, we had also a few experiments that didn't work so well.
Okay. Can you
We
tell us something about that?
we wanted to do a trial month. Once we fixed the dates, we wanted to open 1 month for people that can just come and go whenever they want and also stay shorter, minimum week during this month. And the idea on paper was good. Like, if someone has never been to a co-living, it's a valid fear that maybe they don't want to commit to a whole month because they don't know what to expect, how exactly the experience will go, and all of that. So let's give them a chance to come for a short time just to check and to see for themselves. And actually, it doesn't work because the core of co-living is really spending longer time. Otherwise, you don't really feel the experience, and you don't feel the essence of it. And especially if you are working 1 week, it's nothing really. It didn't allow people to experience community, and this is the main benefit of co-living, so it kind of defeated the purpose. So yeah, some things are good on paper, not so good in reality. But this is also why we started co-living for a living, right? Because we tried so many things, tried and failed, tried and succeeded, and I wished at the time that someone could have given me the shortcuts with all of those. And I feel like we are one of those, like, a few co-living spaces that are paving the way in front, and we want to use this for helping the industry to grow with quality.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. And I love how transparent and honest and open you are about these things. I mean, we've talked about so much of this over the years. But even sharing, now the things that haven't worked so well. And I know one of the themed months that you did, I think it was last year, was a co-living for a living month where you actually invited
Yeah.
other co-living hosts or aspiring co-living hosts to join you at the chateau, and you gave them all of the behind the scenes. I mean, I would have loved to be there.
Yeah.
You gave them all the behind the scenes. Do you want to share a bit about that?
Yeah, yeah, that's actually how the co-living for a living was born, because so me and Jean, people were contacting us for a long time for just like one-off consultations. We didn't even have like a proper offer about that because we didn't think about doing it. And slowly, slowly, people started looking for us. So then we said, okay, if there is that much of a demand, let's do just a thematic month for people who want to open their co-living spaces or who are just in the beginning of the journey, so we can live together, we can experience co-living, we can do like a proper program where we can share our experience and all the basics of what you need to get started. So this is what we did. It was really cool, and now we see the first co-livings are already open, and that's so exciting. And it's exciting also to see them doing well, because when you are involved in such an early stage of someone's project and then you see the project happening, it's a reality, it's really rewarding. So yeah, this is how it started, just with the themed month, and then we thought, okay, we can just keep doing that virtually and in person, and keep sharing and making the industry grow, because a lot of people have this dream of opening a co-living, and it's not about having more spaces, it's about having more good spaces, because this is what will keep people going around from one co-living to another.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that kind of ties back to what you were sharing about before about the not so successful experiment of letting people come and go when they want. And if flexibility is the most important thing, then there are Airbnbs and hotels for that. Like that market is very well served. But if they're looking for community, then that's a different offer, and there has to be some quality, ideally quality control out there, which there isn't sadly, but maybe in the future that's something we'll
We are
see.
talking about that actually. I need some kind of classification. There are some organizations that are working on that.
Interesting. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. So, one thing I realized I also didn't share, this is the first episode, so thank you for bearing with me. I'm going back to front a little bit, but one of the things that I love about running my own community versus maybe working with people as a one off or for a short period of time is that I love being part of their journey and being along for the ride and seeing what happens and like the different twists and turns and ups and downs and milestones and goals and confetti moments along the way. I find that the most rewarding part of the work that I do, and kind of the relationships that you can build over time as well if you have this long-term connection, which is also what you're sharing. Obviously, in a month and co-living together, that is condensed and so much more intense, and virtually it takes a little longer. But being part of the journey and seeing, ideas and projects come and go as well. And what we haven't talked about is the Chateau is actually closing its doors at the end of this season. So that was one chapter in your story, a big one, I'm sure. So we talked a little bit about what comes after. I'm bringing this up because I think often in the online business space, we don't really talk about these things. It's like you have to come up with your business idea, you have to build it, and then that's it, the end of the story. This will be your business for the rest of your life. And that's not really how that works. Like we change, situations change, interests change, we grow, we might want to do different things. How do you feel about that generally?
Well, first of all, I don't want to say that it's closing its doors. It's closing its doors in this current management format. It's open for acquisition, and my hope is that actually it will continue and it will grow much more beyond what it is today, and maybe with a slightly different concept, maybe with a similar concept, but it has the full potential to grow. So hopefully the next people who take over will do that. It's difficult, it's bittersweet. It's one of those things, like you and the girls from the lab, they have been with me since the beginning. Like not many people know, but when I joined the lab, I was doing something completely different business, different industry, and the Chateau happened while I was a new member in the lab. I didn't yet know people very well, and it was one of my first, I think, events in the lab. It was a hot seat where we had to decide on the name of the co-living. Do you remember this one?
I do, yes.
I was feeling really nervous about it because I didn't know yet the girls very well, and I'm like, oh my god, how do you explain to someone about the castle? Like, what will they think about me? I'm not this kind of person. It was so it was uncomfortable, and then everyone was so nice and so supportive, and I really felt like people knew me somehow even though they didn't. And we brainstormed together and we came up with the name, we did all the things. Then I started working on the launch, and at some point I got so swamped with work that I disappeared from the lab for a bit. I didn't have the time to show up, and so many of you were checking in, what's going on, are you opening, what's happening. That was really sweet. Yeah, you've been with me since the beginning of the journey, seeing it grow, seeing it develop. I've been running the ideas past the community quite often actually, and now you see it transitioning. Like you kind of saw it grow as much as I could personally grow it with the resources that I had. And now it's ready to take on the next step, to take on something that can invest bigger, that can grow it in a different way. So that's super exciting. Of course, it's also bittersweet because it's really hard to see your little baby being ready for college and taking off.
Yes, out into the world, spreading its wings.
You are proud, okay, we have built something tangible and something that really has value, and something that has also changed people's lives. And so many of the lab members also have been to the chateau because of all the retreats and the camps that we did together, so many collaborations that happened in the meantime. It's quite amazing. But yeah, it always feels bittersweet, and we can only hope that the next step will take it where it deserves to be.
Yes, and I'm sure it will. Yeah, I love the idea of like letting this child grow and like go out into the world and spread its wings and yeah, shift and change and transform into something new as well. And I think maybe that's it, right? Like this idea that what you build has to stay the same forever. And as humans, we aren't really like that. But I think there's a lot of the narrative in our society is often like everything needs to stay the same. And if it changes, then that's a failure. Like, you know, friendships or interests. What, you don't have the same hobby anymore that you had? Oh, that's a failure. You know, wow, such a shame you don't play guitar anymore or whatever.
Because some of us keeping the same hobby.
Yeah, that's another topic you and I talk about a lot, to totally segue maybe. And that is, I personally was diagnosed with ADHD 6 years ago now. And I've been very open about this from day one and have been sharing it with all my friends and in my community. We even did a Q&A right about at the beginning about it because so many people were curious. And I know from conversations with you over the years, there are certain things you identify with there as well.
Yeah, actually, I learned about it from you, to be honest. I have never heard about that, and suddenly you started talking about it, and I'm like, wait a minute, but isn't everyone like that? No, just me? Okay, me and Jenny? Oh no, and
Just
the other people.
and all the others, yes. Yes. I mean, quite high concentration amongst entrepreneurs and nomads as well, unsurprisingly. Yeah. One of the things I am interested in really is, you know, again, this idea of we can't all do the same thing. We can't all follow the same exact 7-step formula or whatever. So we have to figure things out our own way. And in the lab, we often call that like we have to do it the Jenny way or do it the Katia way, do it the Ellie way, right? Like just our own individual little brains that work in specific ways and fit with our lives and the context of our lives as well. Is there anything that you found that supports you or that you find really helpful in working for yourself, working remotely, living this lifestyle that helps you stay productive or healthy, happy?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the lab, like every type of support when you have your own business, especially when you are in the beginning by yourself. Like now I work with the team also, like Jean is also part of the lab. Like it's so important to have not only the support, which is the cheerleading part of it, but also a little bit the reality check and a little bit of like just keeping informed about things, because so many things that I'm using in my everyday life, I learned about them in the lab or in other communities or in the chateau from the people that I'm interacting with, like everyday tools, like even about ADHD. It's something that is so life changing. Like I'm not diagnosed officially. I identify with so many things, and it's so life changing to be able to talk to someone about it. And I remember at some point you had a coach and you were sharing about like kind of coping techniques and stuff like that. Like this is something that I will never sit and research by myself. I will just not have the time. When it comes to the business as well, things that people have tried and failed, or ideas, or just like sometimes even just like an everyday rant for no reason, just to be like, oh, okay, I've had a day. And knowing that the others will understand. Um, it's a game changer. Not feeling alone in your business, it's such a game changer. And I think it's also so hard to, especially as women, right? Because we are so conditioned to, like, we have to be organized and to be on top of things and to not show any weakness and to be like this and like that. And it's so valuable to have like this safe space with other women when you can also be vulnerable, you can also complain, and you know that nobody will judge you. You can also very loudly celebrate what you are proud of and share your wins and not feel bad or guilty that you are bragging or whatever, knowing that people will be genuinely happy for you. That has been super helpful for me. Like any type of community that can support you in your journey, it's extremely helpful. And it's not only about the business part. Like, it's easy to, I mean, it's not easy, but let's say if you have business ideas that you want to run by people, this is something that you can find in different places. People that really know you, and that you can talk even about small things and learn about small things that could be helpful in your everyday life. Not having an agenda, not having like a specific, this is a mastermind on how to launch my first offer. We do that as well, but the small things, the small chats, the small acts of kindness and moments of support and all of that, this has been super valuable.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's really interesting because I don't think I realized how similar our businesses actually are in that sense because those little side conversations, those little in between, like what we have, for example, if we're doing co-working and we take a break and we have a chance to like you said, like a little rant or a little pep talk or a little celebration or just a little update. But similar, if you're staying in the same co-living space, you bump into each other in the kitchen, you go for a little walk after work or to take a break. Like those in between, it's not even often about the main agenda items, like the main things, but like those little in between moments. And I think that's what's so valuable. And yeah, I think working for yourself has so many lovely things about it, but you are often by yourself as well, and that's not the point of it.
Another thing that is very similar between co-living and the lab, for example, is that there is always someone. Like in the co-living, you can always go in the kitchen or in the living room, and there is always someone. If you want to talk to someone, there will always be someone. Same in the lab. Like sometimes I feel so demotivated, I don't know where to start, I don't know what to do, and I'm like, "Ugh, I will just go see who is online and like, oh, this person is online. Hey, how you doing?" And it just gets you started. And this is so, yeah, it's really,
Yeah.
and
And I see messages pop up all the time like, "Hey, anyone around for co-work?" It was on Sunday. I'm like, "Why are people working on Sunday?" Okay, up to them. They can work whenever they want. At least they're not alone. That's nice. But yeah, I think there's also something about being real with each other. I often rock up and I still have wet hair, or I'm still in bed, or I still have my pajamas on, and I love that about the chateau as well. Like most of the time we wear leggings, we wear our slippers. Like it's very casual and lovely, and you're allowed to kind of just show up in what I like to call like in all my messy glory. But this might be a really good segue as well. Something we haven't spoken about yet is that we are actually returning to the chateau one more time in September this year, so in just a couple of months.
one last time.
One last time. We're actually calling it One Last Hurrah. So this is our last DNG retreat at the chateau together.
It's the last retreat ever because in August we finish with the call in this format.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to tell us a bit about the retreat? I feel like I'm letting you do my work for me.
Ooh. I'm super excited because it's gonna be the last thing that will ever happen at the chateau while I'm still running it. And it's very sentimental for me. It's also the last because, of course, once we announced that we are up for acquisition, everything got booked in
Yeah.
no time. So this is why we decided to genuinely to do this last in September, 10 extra days. I mean, we've run camps with you at the chateau, and we've run retreats as well, and every time is so special. It's really special to see the people that are so excited to see each other again, and the people who meet each other for the first time and then become super close friends. I'm very sentimental about it. It's gonna be from the 2nd to the 12th of September. Jenny and I will be there, of course. Your favorite lab members will be there as well. Some
Yes.
new faces also joining. Um, Exciting, yeah, very interesting and real women, supportive and kind, and so many things that we'll do together. I'm kind of worried how only 10 days. Short.
I agree. Yeah, I feel like I'm outsourcing this question to you because I'm very emotional about the whole thing as well. It's very bittersweet. I'm super excited to come back and gather one more time and enjoy this beautiful space and celebrate what you've created as well because this is something that hasn't maybe come up yet in this conversation, and I don't think it's possible for me to even convey this at all. But the amount of work that you have put into the Chateau Co-Living over the last 5 and a bit years is unimaginable, and I'm using that word not lightly. I've seen it along the way there were many moments where I was worried about you totally exhausting yourself. It's been absolutely incredible what you have built there. It's bittersweet, I think, is how I feel about it. I'm really happy that we're going to go back and we're going to make new memories, meet new people, explore. There are probably still things I haven't seen yet, and places in the forest around and the parks and everything that I haven't experienced yet. And also, I think it's wonderful to have an opportunity. You mentioned the word ritual earlier, actually, and I wrote it down and then I forgot to ask you about it. But to kind of have an opportunity to get together and really celebrate this and kind of close that chapter in style and give it that attention and that space that it deserves. So having a way to celebrate, to let go, but then also at the same time invite in whatever comes next, for you, for the chateau, for all of us. I think that's that mix of bittersweet, sad, nostalgic, but also exciting for the future.
It's another example how, things in life are so up and down always, and this is definitely now with the acquisition and with stopping everything that we have built. It's not an easy moment at all, and having you and the girls and everyone being so supportive and kind of closing the chapter together, this is why it feels so special, because it feels like we are kind of doing a full circle together with the lab, right? It's we started, we brainstormed how to get started, we brainstormed how to build it, we went through all the ups and downs and the good and bad things that came with it, and the whole time I've had the support of you, Jenny, as not only as the leader of the community but also as a friend. And all the other girls, and now closing the chapter together feels extra special, and this is how women should support each other in life and in business, this way. And it makes everything different, because for a difficult moment like that, you cannot imagine having to do it alone.
Yes, and interesting, because for me, I've been working exclusively with women for so long that it's become so normal to me that I'd sometimes even forget to mention that aspect of my work, because I'm like, well, duh, obviously I work only with women. And we talked about this, I think, last week when you said there are still a lot of women out there who you mention that we're running the women's only events, and they react very differently. Do you want to share a bit about that? Because I was like, oh my God, I'm so surprised, which shows what kind of bubble I'm in.
Yeah. It happened actually a couple of times. It was before one of the camps that we were doing together. So basically we had someone that wanted to book at that time for the co-living, and I explained we are not doing co-living at this time, but we are doing this women's camp, and I explained a little bit what it is. And they said, no, women only. Oh, no, that will be so toxic. I was like, why? No, it's exactly the opposite. Like, why? Why is this someone's first reaction when you say women only? Like, my understanding is completely different. But also, having the experience from the lab, everyone has been always so supportive, and the environment has always been so safe and so nice, and so, it was very, very surprising to me. And I had that recently as well, one more time, when I mentioned the retreat. And we talked about it actually. So I was so surprised.
That makes me so sad, because I feel like the stereotype of women being so toxic and competitive, and these stories are age-old stories that have been perpetuated by the patriarchy itself. So it's unsurprising, but it makes me so sad.
Life is hard enough for women. Let's not make it harder on each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Have you ever had people that are kind of concerned to join the lab because they would feel like some kind of, I don't know, women jealousy or mean girls energy or something like that?
Good question. I haven't had that in the recent past, like in the last few years. I haven't come across that personally where people have mentioned that to me. Definitely when I first started D&G, which is now 11 years ago, when I first started the D&G community on Facebook, there were people who were concerned about that, or people who would just assume that that's what it was like. Like, they weren't usually in the community. There were people who I'd meet and I tell them about it, and they're like, oh yeah, no, like, isn't often it was men. So I would get that more often from men than from women. And on the other hand, there were people who questioned whether that was necessary at all to have a women's only community. Shouldn't we all be equal? And, you know, this was 2015, so even pre-Me Too, so, you know, like...
Necessary.
Yeah, very, very... I haven't had that question for a long time, which maybe says something about the world we live in now. Yeah, I think maybe historically, 10 years ago, we were maybe a little bit more naive about whether that is still necessary to have these kind of spaces. And now it's a bit maybe more clear that we do. Yes, sadly, we do still need those spaces. But not even sadly, because they're beautiful spaces. Like, I have had the best experiences in women-only spaces. And to see how comfortable people are with each other when we don't feel like we have to constantly fight for attention and fight to have our voices heard, and be on guard constantly as well, because you never know what's going to be said or how you're going to be judged or dismissed. Yeah. We have a couple of questions in the chat because we have some of our lovely lab members actually listening in live today. Most of them are just saying they are so happy that they got to experience and somebody's asking, where can people find out more about Katia's new venture, Co-Living for a Living, if they are interested?
colivingforaliving.com.
Straightforward. I love it. We'll put that also all in the show notes. Very exciting to have show notes so you can find out more and get in touch. Yeah, I think I just remembered something as well about the co-living that you mentioned earlier, about the co-living for a living, that people were asking you questions and you didn't have a formal offer. I remember talking about that in a feedback hot seat.
Yeah.
Going, Katia, just put something up there so people can book you, and they should definitely pay you because you were answering so many questions for free for such a long time.
True.
Yeah. Sometimes there's some gentle nudging. Maybe to wrap things up for now, because you and we could easily talk for many more hours as we have done in the past. Often we sit down together to co-work, and then 2 hours later we haven't started co-working yet. So
we have dissected the patriarchy.
That we always do.
Equally important.
Equally, if not more important, exactly. I look forward to doing more of that, also in person in September. So just to mention our retreat, it's called One Last Hurrah. It's going to be from September 2nd to 12th, 2026 at the Chateau Coliving in Normandy in France. And we haven't shared how to get there yet. It's very straightforward from Paris. You just take one train, and it's even called the Nomad train. So that's fun.
Maybe share a little bit what, because it's quite different from what we do like in a normal co-living, the retreat.
Yes. So we are hosting a retreat. It's going to be 10 days long, and it is purposefully called a retreat because we would love for it to be as much a retreat as possible. And by that, I mean a retreat from the normal world, from your everyday life, from your day-to-day business. So obviously we're going to the Chateau Co-Living. So there is Wi-Fi there. Everybody has a desk in their room. There's a co-working space there. So if you have a bit of work to do, that is okay. But we would love for people to not have a full workload while they're there, so they can really enjoy themselves, take the time to enjoy the space, the company, and get to know each other. Yeah, make the most of it. Because what I have found from the very first time I've hosted a retreat is that people go like, oh no, I definitely need to do some work. And then once they're there, they really don't want to do any work, and there's so much FOMO. So if you can, try to take it as much as a holiday as possible. But like I said, there will be space and a little bit of time as well to, get the basics done, do some emails, have a couple of calls or something like that. Apart from that, it's always a little bit co-created. So we'll have a little family meeting, as you call them, at the beginning to decide together what kind of topics we want to chat about. For example, if there are any special things we want to do, everybody's invited to organize something or host something. So for example, we've done crafting afternoons, we've had a dance lesson, we can go for a cold dip, what else do we do? Oh my god, so many. We had a book club, we have book swaps, we have what else?
The workshops for the Inamento and in a critic.
Yes, I usually host some playing big workshops. This time I'm planning to run an imagination workshop with the idea that we look ahead to the future and imagine what we want our next chapters to be like, kind of inspired by the next chapter for the Chateau and for Katia as well. We will do feedback sessions if people want. We do feedback hot seats at the Chateau. They are in the real hot seat, in a proper throne. Yes. Which is so fun. What else? We do movie nights, we do family dinners, we cook together, we go for walks, we can go to the beach and do some cold dips. And what we haven't mentioned at all yet is obviously the French food as well, and the wine, and the butter, and the raclette, and the seafood, oysters. Oh my god, now I'm getting really excited. I really want to go back. And Susanne is asking, such an interesting talk. How many rooms do you have left for this wonderful retreat? Good question. How
I
many
have
do
to
we
check
have?
because I have someone that just confirmed this morning that I forgot to tell you, Jenny.
Yay!
But
It's
yeah,
exciting.
we still have a few rooms left, so you can, if you want, you can.
Yes, some of the castle rooms, so the full princess style rooms, are still available. Some of them have private bathrooms, other ones shared with one other room. Those are on first come, first serve. So if you want the private bathroom, you can book as soon as possible.
There is
And
one or
then,
two private bathrooms left.
yes, one or two. But all the rooms are wonderful. So there's no loser there in terms of rooms. So thank you so much, Katia, for a wonderful chat. I have one last question for you that is inspired by one of our members, Ellie. She came up with this question, and that is kind of a shout out question to another person in the lab. Is there something that you remember learning from someone, or any kind of lesson or tip or anything like that that you learned in the lab that you can remember?
My God, so many things. I cannot pick only one person. No, that's impossible. Uh, that's the worst question. I think what we mentioned in the beginning is something that I learned from you and the lab, Jenny, is the celebration of the small things. This is something that I used to be very bad with, and now I'm getting better, which is such a life changing thing.
That is quite a big one. But this is a very unfair question. Historically, I mean, I've been working with women for 11 years now, and it's something that we're not very good at, naturally, I would say, to celebrate ourselves, but we are very good at celebrating each other. And that is where we then can also learn to celebrate our own victories and wins, and remind each other of that. So thank you so much for being here today, Katia. I'm gonna celebrate my own confetti moment right now, and that is doing this, because I've been wanting to do something like this honestly for many years. So it's been such a delight to chat with you today and have you as our first guest. Could have not chosen anyone better to talk to today.
But
We've already asked about links and so on. Is there anything else that I've forgotten that you want to share where people can find you?
no, I think, yeah, people can find me in the lab.
Yes.
People can find me online. Thank you so much for this. It was such a pleasure, such an honor also to be your first guest. And I remember you talking about this, like something similar at the very first retreat at the chateau. And now seeing it coming to life is wow.
Well, actually, now I remembered what I wanted to share, so I'm just going to do this as a little bonus at the end because I think it's worth saying. The last few years have been really tricky for me personally, just health-wise. The last 3 years or so, there's been a lot of changes, hormonal and stuff like that, and my brain has just not been working as it used to work, and a lot of fatigue and loss of confidence. So I've been quite struggling the last few years, and having the chateau as a place that I could go back to regularly. I think I went like about every half a year or so. Have that as a space to reconnect with you, with our community, and spend this quality time together is really one of the things that has kept me going. It's something I've only recently realized what a big role that has played. And now that I'm starting to feel better, I'm coming out and I can try new things like this again. And I would have not been able to do that without the community and without your support. So thank you so much. And I can't wait to see what you build next. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for the next episode, and all of the links will be in the show notes. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.